The Boston Celtics are on top of the NBA. But for how long? The impending sale of the franchise could bring drastic changes, and the biggest concern isn't on the court. It's in the team's finances. With a projected total of $513 million in salaries and luxury tax penalties for the 2025-26 season, the Celtics are on track to break an unwanted NBA record. The big question is, will the new owners be willing to foot this massive bill, or will they start dismantling the roster to ease financial pressure? Looking at NBA history, teams that enter extreme financial situations usually go through significant cuts. The Golden State Warriors have faced similar struggles, losing key players due to rising costs. Could the Boston Celtics be the next team forced to part ways with crucial pieces? Who's safe and who's not? If there's one untouchable part of the roster, it's Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown. Both have massive contracts, and the Celtics are unlikely to trade them unless a full-scale rebuild happens. However, the secondary pieces could be at risk. Derek White, Kristaps Porzingis, and Drew Holiday are essential to Boston's success, but they're also the most obvious targets for potential trades or salary cuts. Among the Celtics' high-value contracts, Drew Holiday's is the most tradable and the most expendable long-term. He's an elite defender and a proven winner, but at 34 years old, with a history of injuries, his future in Boston isn't guaranteed. If the new owners want to slash costs, Holiday could be the first domino to fall. But here's a controversial question. Do the Celtics even need Holiday to keep winning? His defense and leadership were critical to the 2024 championship run, but he has already shown signs of wear. With Derek White and Peyton Pritchard ready to take on bigger roles, could it make sense to trade Holiday for picks or young talent to secure a more financially sustainable future? What about Kristaps Porzingis? Another contract that raises questions is Kristaps Porzingis's. His fit with the team has been spectacular when healthy, but that's the problem. He's rarely healthy. If the Celtics need to free up cap space, does it make sense to keep investing heavily in a player with such a long injury history? One could argue that Porzingis's impact isn't as irreplaceable as other stars on the team. A solid defensive, big and a reliable role player on offense could help fill the gap. But the real question is, are the Celtics willing to risk trading a unique talent for less impactful pieces just to save money? A dangerous precedent. Brian Robb argues that aside from Holiday, all of the Celtics' contracts are movable. That might sound like a positive, but it's also a red flag. If the new owners decide they don't want to pay excessive luxury tax penalties, Boston's flexible contracts could make them an easy target for roster cuts via trades. Imagine a scenario where the Celtics are forced to trade Derek White or Porzingis to reduce payroll. Would they still be a championship contender? The Tatum-Brown duo is strong, but a massive loss of depth could jeopardize any dynasty hopes. Could Boston end up like the Brooklyn Nets? Here's a truly painful thought. Could the Celtics follow the same path as the Brooklyn Nets after the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving era? The Nets, in an effort to avoid massive tax penalties and maintain financial flexibility, dismantled an elite roster and became a team without direction. The risk of Boston going down a similar road is real, especially if the new owners prioritize cost-cutting over competitiveness. Are the Celtics on the verge of becoming a mid-tier team again, sacrificing years of dominance for financial decisions? Or will the front office find a way to balance the budget without breaking up one of the NBA's strongest rosters? Is Peyton Pritchard the new Jayson Tatum of the Celtics? At first glance, this comparison might seem absurd, but is Peyton Pritchard following a path similar to Jayson Tatum? The Celtics' backup guard has improved dramatically this season, to the point of being a serious contender for the 6th Man of the Year award. His dedication to summer training, Bringing in professional and college players to work out with him 4 or 5 times a week shows a level of commitment that resembles that of a true NBA star. Now, the controversial question: what if Pritchard has the potential to be more than just a luxury backup? Is Boston underestimating his true ceiling and limiting his growth by keeping him as a secondary piece? Pritchard's evolution hasn't happened by chance. As he himself explained, his focus has been on understanding different game situations and developing an arsenal for each of them. This approach closely mirrors the path Tatum took to become one of the NBA's elite scorers. The big question is, if Pritchard had more minutes and a bigger role in the offense, could he be a legitimate NBA starter? He has already proven to be one of the team's best shooters, along with an insane level of confidence in clutch moments. But is Boston truly maximizing his potential? Or are we watching the Celtics repeat the mistake of developing a talent only to see him explode on another team? Here's a bold take. What if Pritchard had more minutes as a starter, even on a title-contending team? Derek White and Drew Holiday are elite defenders with undeniable impact, but neither of them has the pure offensive upside that Pritchard is showing this season. I'm not saying he's an all-star just yet, but what if the Celtics are wasting a future star by keeping him on the bench? Remember, players like Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard also started their careers as talented shooters who were underestimated due to not having the ideal physical profile. Could Pritchard be on a similar path? If Boston gives him the chance to develop as a primary option, we might be witnessing the emergence of one of the NBA's best scorers in the coming years. But if they continue to treat him only as a good bench player, he could end up breaking out on another team. And the regret will be massive. Does this mean Tatum should give up his role as the Celtics' main offensive weapon? Of course not. But there are moments in games when Boston should trust Pritchard more than Tatum, especially when the offense stagnates. If the Celtics fail to utilize this offensive weapon, they will be making a serious strategic mistake. We've seen this happen before. The Celtics develop a promising guard but keep him stuck on the bench because the team already has established stars. Then, when that player finally gets a bigger opportunity elsewhere, he takes off. Think about Terry Rozier. He spent years as a backup in Boston, but when he got the chance to lead Charlotte's offense, he proved he could be an elite scorer. What if Pritchard is even better than Rozier? If Boston doesn't find a room for him to grow, there's a significant risk of losing him to another team, only to watch him become an all-star far from Massachusetts. The idea of Pritchard being the new Jayson Tatum might seem exaggerated, but the truth is that he's displaying qualities worthy of a player far greater than his current role suggests. His work ethic, offensive mentality, and technical development are clear signs that he can be much more than just a sixth man. When rumors surfaced that Brad Stevens might be leaving to take a job in Indiana, many Celtics fans grew anxious. After all, he's not just one of the architects of Boston's rebuild. He's the mastermind behind the current NBA championship team. But Stevens was quick to shut down the story, assuring everyone that he's committed to the Celtics and that he loves the people he works with every day. That seems like a definitive end to the discussion, right? But is it really? Or is there something Boston doesn't want us to know? The point is, Stevens may be telling the truth now. But what if Indiana or another team makes him an offer he can't refuse? College basketball, especially in a state like Indiana, isn't just a job, it's a legacy. Stevens made history as Butler's coach, taking a small program to the NCAA title game twice in a row. What if he still has the urge to return to coaching in an environment that worships him? Is his competitive DNA truly satisfied with working? Behind the scenes, many might argue that as president of basketball operations, he has more control over a team's future than he would as a coach. But that's exactly where the big question lies. Does Stevens want to be remembered only as an executive? Or does he want to be on the front lines, living every possession, every decision, every second of the game with intensity? The coaching instinct may never have fully disappeared. He may love Boston, but does he love it more than the chance to build something legendary in his home state? And more importantly, does the Celtics even need Brad Stevens to remain an elite team? It's undeniable that he has been brilliant as an executive, making key trades like acquiring Drew Holiday and securing contract extensions that have kept the team competitive. But for how long? Looking at it objectively, the Celtics have such a strong core that they might not need Stevens anymore to stay on top. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown are established superstars. The system is in place, and the winning mentality is deeply embedded. Could it be that Stevens, knowing this, feels his work in Boston is already complete and that the challenge no longer excites him the way it once did? If there is even the slightest doubt within the franchise that he might be considering a future departure, should Boston start looking for a replacement now? Or better yet, is there anyone available who could do as good a job as he has? The answer isn't so simple. If the Celtics aren't careful, they could lose their top executive to an NBA rival, which would be a much bigger blow than watching him leave for college basketball. Perhaps the most controversial question of all is this: what if Stevens has already thought about leaving but just doesn't want to admit it yet? In the business world of the NBA, being too transparent can be a mistake. If Stevens publicly said he's interested in returning to coaching or open to future offers, he would lose credibility within the Celtics and could weaken his authority. Players, agents, and even other executives would start questioning his commitment. So, denying everything now might just be a strategic move to keep the team focused. But what if, a year or two from now, he does exactly what he denied today? It wouldn't be the first time a major NBA figure reassured the public only to change their mind shortly after. Examples? In 2010, LeBron James said he wouldn't leave Cleveland. He did. Kevin Durant insisted he wouldn't leave the Thunder. He did. Even Danny Ainge, Stevens' former boss, repeatedly stated he wasn't leaving the Celtics. Until he did. Celtics fans can breathe easy for now, but it's impossible to ignore the saying, "Where there's smoke, there's fire." If Brad Stevens truly has no intention of leaving, great. But if there's even the slightest hesitation within him, Boston needs to start preparing for a future without him. Because when the right offer comes, it might be too late to react. Hey Celtics fanatics, what do you think of this news? Leave your opinion in the comments, as it's highly valued.